The best part about this car is that it doesn't cost you that much, it doesn't drink too much gas, and it doesn't take up too much space. I mean, of course I would love to have a Ford Raptor or something similar, but just not a priority. Quick visit to the hardware store today. I think I see my old friend. Hey Matthias.
Hey.
Pang. I have known this man for, I think it's like 20 years or something like that, 25 years. I met dropped Alexander off at the preschool today, and I always have this inner debate with myself because then I have to decide if I'm gonna work out in the morning or in the evening. It's always good to have it done in the morning though.
Still don't got it. Gotta work more.
If you can only do 10 minutes, make sure that you do 10 intense minutes. Can you believe that I once weighed 128 kilos with 12% body fat? Morgonkaffe efter ju. You know, the reason that I don't talk about my bodybuilding past is because it simply doesn't interest me as much as it did back then. But it kind of was the springboard for me to start making videos. This was me back in 2015 when I recorded my first couple of vlogs as a bodybuilder. My right biceps measured 54 centimeters around. Sony action camera. That was the exact camera that I used to shoot all my videos back in 2015. I had absolutely no knowledge about how to use a camera. The only thing that I knew was that if I pointed it towards myself, I would be the one that was recorded. But I brought that with me wherever I went, and I was determined that I wanted to speak English in the videos as well. And looking back at those videos now, it's a little bit embarrassing, but also kind of inspiring to see how I went from being this huge bodybuilder to do something entirely different, because it kind of shows that life is not a determined path as long as you choose the direction that you want to walk. I am still getting a lot of questions on what kind of cameras that I use whenever I'm shooting these vlogs and what to think of when you're recording YouTube videos, and I thought we should talk about that right now. If you don't enjoy listening to camera gear and that kind of stuff, you can skip until this point of the video. As you may or may not know, I am shooting with Sony cameras. The reason that I'm doing that is not because they're the latest and greatest, it's because they are serving the purpose that I want the camera to serve very well. And it doesn't really matter if you're using Canon, Nikon, or Lumix, as long as it works for you, then you should be satisfied. The first camera that I want to talk about is the iPhone. In my opinion, this is one of the best cameras that I have in my arsenal. Not because it necessarily has the best quality, but because I always have it with me. When you always have something with you, it's more likely that you're actually going to use it to capture what is going on. The image quality of the iPhone is more than sufficient to include in vlogs or high quality videos, and especially now with the cinematic mode in the iPhone 13. But for me, what I look for the most is the ease of use and the portability, I guess. A couple of pros with the iPhone, in my opinion, is the size, the ease of use, the speed of accessing the camera, and all the functions such as HDR, cinematic mode, and that kind of stuff that improves the overall image quality. The cons about the iPhone, though, is that it is expensive, in my opinion, if you're only going to be using it for a camera purpose. And the quality of the image is decent. I wouldn't say that it's great, but it looks decent and you can definitely use it in your videos, but for a camera at this price point, it is also lacking a depth of field that I like to have in my videos to be able to enhance the storytelling aspect of things. And the last thing is gonna be the sensor that is way smaller than the camera that I'm shooting on right now. Overall, I will say that the iPhone is going to be more than sufficient for you to start your channel, and I do use a lot of iPhone footage in my videos and vlogs as well, mainly because it's capturing those in-the-moment shots that I otherwise couldn't capture. The other camera that I use is the Sony CV1. The pros of this camera is, first of all, the size, because you can fit this in your pocket. I have it in my side hip holster right here, which means that it's always ready to go and it's easy to bring up whenever I want to capture something that is going on. The sensor in this camera is also bigger than the one in an iPhone, and that also provides you with a better lens option, and it's going to give you more depth of field and also perform better in low light. This has a dedicated video microphone so that when you're talking to the camera you get a really good quality audio as well and don't have to worry about having an external microphone. And it also has a flip out screen, which means that you don't have to turn the camera to be able to see yourself when you're recording. The biggest con with this camera though is definitely the battery, because it does not last long if you're shooting a lot in 4K. And when you go outside shooting, you gotta make sure that you have a couple of extra batteries with you at all times. There's also a lack of buttons on this camera, which makes it kind of hard to use as a run and gun shooter, unless you're actually shooting everything in auto, which I am doing. The lens on this camera is a little bit too tight because you only get 24mm equivalent. Meanwhile, on the iPhone, you get approximately a 15mm on the ultra wide. So when you're vlogging and recording yourself, it can feel a little bit too tight at times. And the last con, in my opinion, is the ease of use, because I think that even though it's a great camera, it is kind of hard to get comfortable to use the camera because there's so many different functions. It's very hard to find all the different things that the camera does. The Sony a7S III is by far the camera that I try to use the most, mainly because it is superior to the previous camera that I've talked about. The biggest pro of this camera is without a doubt the sensor size, because this is a full frame camera, which makes the image look incredibly good. It doesn't really matter if you're shooting in 4K or 1080p because it's gonna look razor sharp. And you can also switch out the lenses on this camera since it's an interchangeable lens camera, and that gives you a bunch of different options that you can utilize when you're trying to tell a story. And it is also incredibly good in low light when you combine it with the right lens. The cons of this camera and this setup that I'm using though is that it is very, very expensive. The size of the camera compared to the iPhone and ZV-1 is also bigger, but I wouldn't say that it's too big, but still too big to be an everyday camera that you bring with you wherever you go. The iPhone is probably the most versatile camera that I use right now to shoot these kind of vlogs, mainly because you can shoot time lapses, you can shoot 4K video, you can shoot with 3 different lenses in the Pro version, and that makes it so good to have as a day-to-day camera, but the image quality is not on par with what I would like. And the current price of that is $999. I definitely think it's worth the value if you're shooting a lot of videos. The CV1 is, in my opinion, the most fun camera to use, and it's also the camera that I get the most out from when I look at the price point, because it comes in at $648, and I think that that is very good value for what you get in a compact camera like this. The a7S III combined with the ECM B1M microphone is one of the absolute best combos, in my opinion, when you are a content creator. But the price point of this is also incredibly high because it comes in at $3,850. But depending on what kind of videos that you are making, I think that go for the camera that fits your style the best, because having a camera like this is not going to make you a better videographer. It's all about how good can you tell the story of your day, of your idea, without feeling that it is a hassle to bring out the camera. So for me, the iPhone and ZV-1 are always with me. The a7S III is something that I have in my camera bag, but it's not always up whenever I'm recording my vlogs.